Hello and welcome to HyzerMedia's tournament coverage of the back nine final round for the 2023 Buchmiller SuperThriller, as well as the last 9 holes for the Red Rose Roundup Series. Thanks to our supporting sponsors, Cosmic Disc Golf, D-Town Disc Golf, and Reaper Disc Supply. I'm Dave Oster, here to bring you the commentary to finish out this tournament and this series. Thanks to Slippery Saucers for supporting hole 10. It's a par 3, 345 feet. Flex backhand is about the shape of the hole here. Out of bounds left all the way around near the pin. So don't want to have it fade out too early. The bailout is right, so you also see a lot of forehands to just kind of get close to the pin. If not, just play it safe for the par. Ramie Millar up first, catches some branches, winds up right side. So took that forehand just a bit too tight. Jerry Dyson up second, going more with that backhand flex shot, but more to just a landing zone in the middle. Ethan Hine with the great forehand brings out a lot. So he gets all the way around the corner. He'll probably be about pin high, right side. Moul going with the backhand turnover. Maybe clips a branch or two. Will run up on that right side. Beckey kind of grounds it and rolls out, so he'll be a bit short. Doesn't wind up out of bounds, so still has the opportunity to get up and down for his par. And pushes over that last corner of out of bounds and looks like he landed pretty close to in the circle. Downhill the last 20 or 30 feet before you approach the circle, so bottom of the basket is a little bit blind, making the distance control a little bit trickier coming into this green. Ramie and Jerry look like they did pretty well. Eric just a little layup, not having to worry about too much. Same thing for Ethan. And Rob with a maybe 35-footer for his par save, and he nails it. After not a great tee shot, definitely a great up and down. Oh, just a little bit off Ramie. Jerry seemingly intentionally playing the hole for par, does so pretty well. After the out of bounds stroke and the missed putt, Ramie will unfortunately have a double bogey to get back to where he started. And a couple more par tap ins for the rest of these guys. And we are off on the back nine. Hole 11, sponsored by Link DG Supplies, par 4, 405 feet, throwing from an alternate tee position up the hill, Mando left around the corner into the alternate tee position for hole 11, way back in the woods. So pretty tricky hole. Also out of bounds left of the fairway will be the long overgrown bushes, as well as the road. And it looks like Ethan missed the Mando, have to go left of it, and he wound up right of it. So that'll actually be a re-tee for a missed Mando. Jerry trying to go flex over that corner, doesn't quite get it. So out of bounds will just be where you take it off on the left side, different than the missed Mando. So pretty tricky hole. Really have to think about what you're trying to do, and then of course execute it. Eric looking like he's doing so nicely, just trying to pitch up to the corner. And by pitch, I mean throw about a 250-foot shot. So, getting to a point where he can kind of pitch up. And Rob going for it, gets into the woods. So he'll be up in to the second part of the fairway, maybe able to see the basket from there. We saw Ramie spotting everybody down at the bottom of the hill. Very kind of him. Heads back up and throws a nice flex shot way into the woods. We'll have to see where that ends up, but that looked like it was tracking back towards the basket. So Ethan throwing 3 now. Just barely hooks up in time. Guys are double checking, but it does look like he's there. Jerry taking advantage of the ability to take your lie straight back from the basket to give himself an easier approach. So he was out of bounds straight in front of what we're looking at and took a couple paces back to give himself a better look. Looks like Rob was actually out of bounds up there. So he did the same thing, took it back from where he went out. And now Ethan throwing 4, leaning out forehand, maybe can see the top of the basket, but just trying to get up to the green to limit the damage in this hole. Eric in the ideal landing zone to play for birdie. Kind of pitches up a little short, getting caught up in that grass. Rob trying to push through to get to the green. Jerry not in a great spot. Looking like he's going turbo over the bushes. And hopefully just making progress towards the basket. And I think this is him long coming out of the woods, hitting the band coming down. So that'll be a high score for Jerry. Eric with a birdie. That's how you play it. Great tee shot. Could have gotten a little bit closer on his approach. And here's Ramie on the green for eagle. Tricky spot. Oh, and just barely chains out. Left side. He was in the bushes. Definitely didn't have an easy look at it. But good effort nonetheless. And now he's parked for his birdie. Kind of unbelievable tee shot. I think karma for spotting for the rest of those guys probably lended a hand in the success of his tee shot. But I'm sure he'll be happy with that, especially after the result of a lot of these other guys still trying to figure it out. Rob from in the woods doesn't connect on that one. So, big stroke separator here. Couple of birdies, couple of doubles. That close. That close. Hole 12, par 3, 305 feet. This is maybe the first hole being played as the normal layout at Buchmiller Park. It is the alternate pin, which is the long position, from the normal tee pad. There is a Mando tree, maybe an addition compared to the normal, but in terms of the pin and tee position, this playing is just normal hole 12. Actually, I believe it's the normal hole 14. So, pure hyzer, trying to get all the way down there, even a little flex. You kind of have to pick one of your gaps. Either way, the gaps are pretty low. It's about ground level from what we can see is where you're trying to hit. You can go high, far right, but with being the alternate pin position, you really want to move left once you get past this first set of trees. There's also out of bounds right And of course the man that these guys are trying to go across.
Long, no fucking line to. You get that and you get lucky. That's it.
And Rob also catching a tree. So we'll head down there and see where these guys ended up. So, out past the tree line at the very least, not throwing towards the basket we can see. The alternate basket is actually a bit longer and further down the hill. It has a bit of a backstop, being probably the largest tree in the park, but just behind that is a severe downslope. And it's a very tight green, so it's a kind of one side of the basket is where you want to approach it from. Anywhere else, you're probably not on the green or have a look at the basket. That's about what you're looking for. Just get to the edge of those woods there, and you should have a look at it. And you can see Ramie lining up the jump putt to the longer of these two pins that we're looking at. Just a bit right side, but it should have sat, caught up, didn't go too far. So Ethan actually went long. He's trying to punch back out towards the basket. And looks like he did. He's not sure where it is, but I think we got a peek at it. Looks pretty good. And good putt for Jerry to save the par. This is also more downhill than it looks on camera. So definitely a tricky green. And of course, alternate pins are the single chains, so just makes putting that much more difficult. And Ramie stopping nice and close to the basket. And Eric as well. So a bunch of pars here on hole 12. We move over to hole 13, par 3, 324 feet, playing up the hill, past the normal basket, across the street to an island of 18's normal basket. So, tricky little combining of different baskets, different holes, playing across the OB road onto the island. Oh, and Ramie catching an early tree, landing not too far off the tee pad. It'll be a little bit more of a straighter shot from where he landed, but a little tricky. So these guys all going with the forehand turnover or the backhand, just trying to get to here. It is a par 3, so you should be able to reach the basket, but kind of a difficult ask with the strange shape, the uphill. There's a lot of trees high that are going to catch your disc if you try to give it the height to go all the way. So just taking a quick moment to make sure there's no traffic coming. And again, not to this first basket, but the longer basket, normal 18. Oh, Ethan hit the trees and dropped down, but it looked like inbounds. Did get across the road. Jerry far enough up, he can probably see the basket they're playing to, which of course is a huge advantage to give yourself a look at the depth you're looking for. Eric almost having the normal pin in his swing, but able to straddle out. Catches that right side tree, which is right on the out of bounds line, but I believe stayed in bounds. Rob with a pretty good shot. Looked like he caught that last tree, maybe saving him from going on the road, or maybe skipping over into the island. So Ethan with the outside the circle putt for par. And nails it. Little high, just right side to not hit the pole. And stays in. Little upset that he didn't have a closer putt. But makes it nonetheless, and so does Ramie. Alright. Putters are getting hot. This hole really could play as a par 4, being that it plays as a 2-shot hole, although it's just a bit too short. I understand why it would be very difficult to call a 324-foot hole a par 4. So Eric barely staying in bounds. He hit that tree that he's sitting next to and just sat. Oh, and I spoke a bit too soon about the putters. Just left side. And this is playing to the normal 18 like I mentioned, which is a newer basket. So it has the double chains. So pars are birdies, bogeys are par, so not too bad for this card. Thanks to Dan Brooks Wells for sponsoring this hole. If you're looking for lessons, reach out to him. Hole 14 is a par 3, 373 feet. Almost the normal hole, playing to the long alternate position, but the tee pad is playing from further back near this tree. And there's also a mandatory sign on the right side. And a line that you're trying to play, keeping you out of hole 18's fairway. So uphill and to the right, definitely a difficult hole. Again, one of those kind of in between 3 and 4. This tournament designed to be difficult. Gonna go with the harder, but only 373 again would be very difficult to call it a par 4. Ramie went with the backhand turnover, kind of flexed out.
You alright?
Ethan definitely going with the forehand. If you have the distance, shape's better. Looked like he might have slipped a little bit, but he was alright. Rob taking a little tight. Looked like he might have cut rolled out a bit. Eric also lining up the turnover, or roller. That is also a good play. Eric throwing rollers on a lot of these holes. Does need to curl up. Probably curled up just a little bit, but going uphill kept it straighter than maybe he would have wanted. The basket is pretty far to the right once you get to the top of the hill. Oh, and Jerry pulling it way right.
You got a very fortunate kick left. I don't know if you got back in. There's no way.
Missing that Mando. So Rob just pitching up. Ramie went up pretty far left. So he'll still have a long approach, but fairly open and fairly flat. So he should be near the green. And I guess Jerry kicked all the way out, back in bounds after going into the woods early. So pretty fortunate for him. Looked like it missed that Mando sign, but I wasn't quite sure where it was. Group made the decision that he was in, so he was in. Eric making it pretty far up there. Did curl up pretty close, so he had a pretty easy forehand approach from there. Ethan also making it quite a ways up there. Have a short approach. Again, these guys threw pretty good shots, and they had to throw a pretty extremely good shot to have an actual look to get a birdie. But again, that's the SuperThriller for you. You have to throw great shots to score well here. Oh, needs to sit. Ethan not able to save the par. And Jerry also just a bit high. So definitely playing very difficult. In fact, playing as a second most difficult hole in round 2. Almost a full stroke over par, and 0 people birdied this hole today. At least in the second round. So definitely a difficult hole, like I was saying. Even if it played as a par 4, it would still be on the second half of the harder hole. So as far as the hole design, I really like it. Moving the tee back changes the angle and the distance just enough that this really is going to be playing as that full stroke above par, as opposed to normally a not too difficult hole. Playing for the normal tee pad, you have a decent chance of getting up there. But bogeys and double bogeys for most of our card definitely tells you the story. Hole 15, sponsored by Out of Bounds Disc Golf. Par 3, 297 feet. Mando to the left of the pine tree, and then landing somewhere around here will give you a look towards where the basket will be around those green flags. This is a hole that is not on the course normally, if you've ever been here, so players do not have a lot of practice. Unless you've played in the SuperThriller in years past, I think this is a good hole design. It's a big sky forehand, maybe a small backhand roller or big turnover, something like that. There is a severe slope that slopes downhill towards the out of bounds road, so rollaways are also a possibility. And the lefty forehand roller is a play. Should be curling back up that hill, and we'll see how close he gets. Basket is also tucked into a pretty tight green. So, only a 300-foot forehand if you have it. But once you get near the green, you also have to land in a good spot. Ethan going very high. Oh, looks like he kicked back to the left. Should have a fairly open approach if he's out in the open on that left side. Jerry going with that backhand turnover. Gotta have something very flippy. With that downhill, if it starts to fade out at all, it's going to go pretty far down the hill.
I just saw it hit the end of that branch.
And like I was saying, tight green. We'll see once we get up there. If you're not in the right spot, it's going to be tough to even see the basket, even within 30 or 40 feet. So 5 tee shots inbounds. No one missed the Mando. So we'll have some approaches and maybe some birdie looks. Ethan on probably the most open side of the green, albeit fairly short, so up and down. Eric through a very tight window and nails it. 45, maybe 50 footer through the gap. Great putt for Eric. And great birdie, tying him with Ethan for the lead at the moment. And Ethan already had his approach shot, so par at best for him. We see Rob down to a knee just to get under some of these hanging branches. Jerry, similar small gap. Oh, just off the cage, a little bit right side. Gets a little bit of a roll that he didn't need either. Ramie with a pretty good shot, has a circle's edge putt. Oh, just nicked the cage, a little bit low. Not sure if he had some branches he was dealing with, but he will tap in his par. And Jerry as well. And speaking of the tight green, Ethan, we get a peek through a window of the trees just to see his tap in for par as well. And 4 pars. Lightning Disc Golf sponsoring this hole. Thank you to them. Another brand new hole for the course. Par 4, 493 feet. A couple different ways to get to this landing zone here to give yourself a short approach to a basket that will be elevated at those green flags. Lots of out of bounds on this hole, all the way around the left side, as well as the out of bounds road and across on the right side. A couple of different gaps you want to choose from off the tee, and low ceiling, so certainly a difficult design hole. Eric hitting it beautifully. And just near the road, you want to kind of stay close to the road to give your second shot a better angle. There is a fairly large bailout zone to the left, but that will make your second shot quite a bit more difficult. Ramie catching the last tree you need to miss for your first shot. Kicking right, but not into the road, so fortunate for that at least. Ethan taking a bit wider, using the road. Couple of skips and back in bounds, very close to where Eric landed. So everybody seems to be taking this wider route. There is a little bit more of an inside route if you're kind of going for that layup zone. Jerry playing a little bit more safe, not pushing the road too much. So he'll have a bit of a longer approach, but certainly still doable. Rob a bit higher. And yeah, catching those branches. Pushing that tree, you really need to keep it low. You can take it wider like some of those guys did, or like I said, you can take it inside that tree to the layup zone. Ramie taking it wide over the road. Double skip, rolling, and barely staying in bounds. You see that white flag almost leaning on it. So great recovery shot, still able to card the birdie, at least have an opportunity from inside the circle. Oh no, Jerry hitting the pole, not a Mando, but just having one more obstacle coming into the green to miss and kicking out of bounds. So that'll be another penalty stroke. And Rob also using the road, taking it very wide, getting a fortunate roll back in bounds. So you see with Ethan and Eric's drives, you have a fairly short approach. Uphill, out of bounds both sides. Obviously still not the easiest. But compared to where the rest of those guys were, so you really had to throw a great shot to get it up onto the green. Oh wow, and even closer than it looked from the first shot. Right on the line, straddling it right next to the flag. And taking advantage of the luck, carding the birdie. Rob just a few paces inside, also took it even wider on the road. And able to curl all the way back in bounds, also taking advantage to get the birdie. Oh, the elevated basket got him. After great drive, great approach, just a little bit low. Ethan also able to card the birdie, putting him one stroke over Eric. That was the separating factor right now, so. Thanks to Upper Park Disc Golf for sponsoring hole 17, our second of three par 5, 740 feet, out of bounds all along the right side and low ceiling and tricky gaps all the way up to normal 17's basket. So the drone flew in the inbounds way all the way there, but these players are all going to be playing up and over the out of bounds, trying to get back inbounds for their first shots. There's just a lot of air out there, you can get some more distance. You got to get around those trees, and Ramie skips on the line and back inbounds. Pretty fortunate these last couple throws for Ramie. Fortunate or skilled. Maybe that was the specific play, so I can't make that judgment necessarily. Ethan a little bit higher, pushing forwards. And hits the tree and comes down. I think we saw a disc flying further down the fairway. It looked like it had kicked, potentially going back out of bounds, but once we realized it was Ethan's disc, it was pretty good, falling right back in bounds. Rob a little bit shorter, coming in front of that tree that those guys are coming in, but also in bounds. Eric a little bit wider. Oh, when he catches those branches. Oh, we're not able to come all the way back in bounds. The line kind of snakes in and out, and if he was a little bit shorter, a little bit longer, he might have been able to come back in bounds, but unfortunately not able to.
That's so well executed.
And narrowly staying in bounds for Jerry. Also out of bounds bunkers on the left side that he was heading towards, but able to avoid them. Eric quickly throwing his third shot, also landing out of bounds. So, going to step right back up, and we see a little bug on the lens there. And on his third attempt, Eric is able to keep it in bounds. Jerry deciding to play out of bounds, over the out of bounds again, and catching a limb, kicking right. That is the danger of playing over the out of bounds.
I don't know if it got back in bounds here.
It didn't, because where that tap.
He
You
won't be able to
straight
progress
down
very
the piece. I mean,
far.
you can take it up to the flag in
You
front
can
of
hear
you.
the players discussing what he should do.
Yeah, far.
And yeah, just a few feet forward with the out of bounds. So again, essentially a stroke and distance, which isn't the actual rule, but essentially plays that way on a few places in this course. Definitely a good design, because if you don't have to enforce that rule and still have that kind of come into effect, that definitely adds to the difficulty if that's what you're trying to do. So, pretty good fourth shot for Jerry. Gets up and over that hill. He'll be near the circle. The basket is to the left, so you want to skip a little bit further. Ethan looked like he's just playing it safe, not trying to get too much. There is an out of bounds line long, so didn't want to have that come into play. Eric throwing 6. Looked like he had a pretty good shot to approach the basket. And finally up to Ramie's drive. Looked like that might have been a little early left. There is the out of bounds line we can see. Ramie's probably up near where Rob is now. I guess a few feet further at least. And Rob lays up to a nice spot. So here's Ramie, I believe, for his eagle bid. Obstructed a little bit. Oh, gave it the height. Looked like it maybe just got a little redirected. But he should be parked for his birdie. Jerry almost going out of bounds long. Able to just put it under the basket. So this is also Ethan for his eagle. Just deciding to lay up, knowing that the second place competitor, Eric, already had a couple of out of bounds strokes. Deciding to play it safe. And good putt for Eric. After the few errant tee shots, he kind of played the last 2 strokes perfectly. Really, did it in 4 throws from the tee pad, but with the added out of bounds strokes, that'll be a double for him. Good birdie for Rob as well. Kind of played up the left side, different from everybody else, but gets it done. The unfortunate double for Jerry as well. I guess that was out of bounds long to give him that one more stroke. And Jerry counting the strokes. That winds up being 7. On to the final hole here for the Buchmiller SuperThriller and the Red Rose Roundup Series. Hole 18, the last par 5, 951 feet. What we just saw was the normal 18's tee pad, so we're playing almost double the length of this hole. out of bounds road to the landing zone about near normal 18 steep head, and then the big up and over to get to the alternate single chain basket. So the way the drone flew would be the inbounds play. A lot of these players are going to take the shortcut, going over the road, either forehand or backhand turnover, trying to get it back in bounds to the landing zone. And that will do. Surprised to see Ethan go over the out of bounds despite having now a 4-stroke lead. A lot of out of bounds other than the road. There's right side once you get up there, left side and long once you get up near the green. So a lot could still happen. Everybody seeming to decide to play over the road here. Maybe going with the flex. Oh, catching that left side tree, dropping down on the out of bounds. The road and across is out of bounds. So you do need to make it either long enough to go straight or back to the right side of that road. Eric going roller. Oh, it's still going. And still going down the hill. That's probably in front of long 18's basket. Looked like those guys couldn't see it as soon as we could, and just as shocked. Jerry going turnover. Just needs to miss those trees, and also great shot. That's probably about as good of an air shot as you can get. Eric's roller was quite something special. Very hard to get all the way up there. So Ramie going from where he went out of bounds, catching a limb, but I believe he did get over the road. So he won't be penalized again, but still not in a great position. Oh, it needs to sit, and it does. Just sawed it off a little bit, caught the main trunk of that tree. So Rob will have a low ceiling from there, but no penalty strokes. Ethan in a pretty good shot. Deciding to go over from further back. And huge shot. Looks like he's probably up on the green. And Ramie, a little maybe early congratulations. We still have the rest of the hole to play. So Rob actually left side, able to just go higher, spike. We kind of got a little glimpse of it. Looks like he made it over. Jerry not able to clear. So that'll be out of bounds. So Ramie also getting far enough up to try to clear, and it looks like he did. Tight angle there, but it looks like he'll be up and on the other side. Finally up to Eric's drive, and he's almost pin high, albeit still 300 feet away. So Jerry was out of bounds, but again applying the rule that you can take it as far back as you want. Takes it all the way back, maybe 150 feet or so, to give himself more time to get up and over those trees. Good play in the rule, and it looks like it definitely helped. He got up and over and in bounds. So Ramie got caught up on that one tree in the opening. And gave it a little scare. Almost trying to ring up another highlight for us, but we'll have to settle for just a park job. And that was Ethan for an eagle. Running it even with the out of bounds just close to there. And this is also Eric for eagle. And great way, like we just heard Rob say, to finish, wiping out that double in the hole before. Was giving Ethan a run for his money the whole round up until the last few holes. Oh, and a dirty spit out. That's those single chain baskets for you. You cannot hit the center pole. Good showing for Rob as well early on. Didn't finish quite as strong as you'd like to, but making lead card. Fortunate double for Ramie, but Ethan will be here. That close for the third birdie in a row to finish out his tournament. Even on the back nine, but enough to take down the 2023 Buchmiller SuperThriller. Congratulations to Ethan. Here's him getting the trophy from Shawn Conroy. 4 down was the hot round, tied with Nathan Johnson for the second round, who snuck his way up into top 3. Eric Moul finishing in second, Ramie Millar and Joshua Smeltzer tied for 4th. Ethan Hine coming into the tournament in the lead for the Red Rose Roundup Series and could not be caught with the win. Congratulations to him for winning this year-long series as well. Thanks to our supporting sponsors, Norse Gods, as well as our Patreon family. I hope you enjoyed the coverage of the 2023 Buchmiller SuperThriller. We have quite a few exciting A-tiers coming out soon. Lake Marshall Open, Minekill Disc Golf Championship, as well as the Warwick Disc Golf Championship. So subscribe if you want to see all those, and we'll see you in the next hole.